Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Called Anyway. I just want to say thank you so much for all of the support for the episode that we filmed last week. It was such a project, and it truly a legacy project, something that I've been working on in my old brain for a minute, and just making it a reality and getting all of the love and support that we have gotten has just been amazing. So, thank you for sticking around for episode 2. So, today we are meeting with a survivor. Her name is Whitney. I say survivor, but I don't emphasize enough that she is also a survivor advocate. She is a warrior. She is so strong, so funny, such a good friend. She works with several, you know, people in the nonprofit space, and she just continues to be a force. Might I add, I am a little bit biased because she is also just an incredible friend and mentor to Natalie as well. So we're going to go ahead and let Whitney in. Hi, Whitney. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. So good to see you and your beautiful shining face. So, yeah, do you want to tell our viewers just a little bit about yourself?
I would. No, I'm just playing it. Those are my daughters. I can't see with those. So I'm Whitney. I'm a survivor of human trafficking, and I get the opportunity now to connect with and provide resources, advocate for survivors who are currently going through that or trying to get out of the life.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Thank you for that. So, I mentioned you are aware of many hats, not just a survivor. You are a wife and a mom and a friend and all the other good things too. So, we love
I
that.
I am. That's the family.
Okay. That is the fam.
That's
Okay.
the crazy baby.
She's precious. So, I'm just going to ask you a few questions. So, tell me about some vulnerabilities you had as a child that put you in the vulnerable population that we're always talking about.
So I feel like there's so many vulnerabilities. I mean, being a child is a vulnerability. For me, obviously that was one. You know, I anybody that have ever met that has ever worked in the sex industry has been groomed or hurt as a child. They've been either molested or, made to do other things with an adult. And I feel like that kind of set the stage for me. And that was like the biggest vulnerability. I was molested from 4 or 5 till I was about 12. And then immediately after that started going on, uh, I started dressing like a boy, cut all my hair off. And I mean, kids are cruel. So I got made fun of. All throughout school, really didn't have any friends, and so met a older man on the internet. He was around like 22 and I was 12. Met him. He essentially like raped me and was caught in the act. He I was positive, like I'm sorry, the rape kit was positive for his DNA, and they had like a copy of the chats from, because I met him in an AOL chat room, and he was charged but never convicted. And so I think, and I was put on probation for a failure to ID because I wouldn't tell them who I was or how old I was. And so I kind of feel like
Yeah,
that set the
yeah,
stage for me, on, law enforcement will punish you. They're not there to help you, but also, with like the justice system. And that was my introduction to sex, or so I thought. And so I feel like that kind of set the tone for everything else. Like, who
yeah,
cares?
yeah.
Like,
That
nobody will help me anyways.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we need to emphasize that naivete, whatever the word is, can also be a vulnerability. I
Yeah, it
talk about that
absolutely
often, that
can.
was, of course, in our situation, definitely the biggest vulnerability that we had.
I mean, if you,
So,
it doesn't,
what are some common,
I feel like as far as it doesn't matter if you are, if you have those type of issues are not going on. A, 12, 13, 15, 16-year-old girl, like we think we've got it all figured out, and we're sassy, we're boy crazy because we've hit puberty, like you name it. And I mean, I see these memes on Facebook all the time where it's like the young girl sitting in the back of a drug dealer's car, but like, and it's a meme, right? It's funny
Hmm.
because I did it.
Hmm.
Like, at 12, 13 years old and didn't think twice about it, didn't bat an eye. And I think about now, I'm a mom to a little girl, and I'll be damned.
Yeah. No, I totally can understand that. What are some common misconceptions? For me, people always reference the movie Taken, and for others, it's Sound of Freedom or Pretty Woman or all of those. What are some common misconceptions that you've run into?
Girl, I've never seen Pretty Woman. I feel like I need to watch it now, but shoot, the common misconception that I had before realizing, like, oh, I was trafficked, was that trafficking, human trafficking or sex trafficking meant there was, an underage girl in Asia somewhere chained up in a basement, or that it looks like being beaten or, forced to do things 24/7. But I think that, like, one of the coolest things that I get to do is like take part in education, right? And I love to touch on the fact that, like, I didn't feel like a victim, or I didn't feel, even now, like, still saying I'm a trafficker or a survivor of trafficking, like, it's hard for me to still identify with that. I know it's true, but it's so ugly. Like, I feel like it's almost derogatory, in a
Mhm.
sense. And part of that is because I was partly complicit in it. I didn't think life had anything else to offer me. I didn't think that I was worth any more than, I could do anything else with my life. I didn't have a real job until I was like 28, 29,
Yeah.
and it
Okay.
was at a sandwich
Yeah.
shop. So to me, it's just so crazy to like think back how my mind was then, and, what life looked like now.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I completely understand. What areas were you in mainly? Was it Dallas?
Um, So for the first part of being trafficked, I was like, what is that? Empire Central area,
Okay.
and then Farmers Branch. Let me see. And then, so with my second trafficker, I mean, we were in Plano, Dallas, New Orleans, Houston. Uh, I mean, we were a little bit of everywhere. And then
Yeah.
after, I really didn't have a trafficker anymore, and I was just kind of getting with whoever and willingly handing over my money because I kind of felt like that's all I had to offer anybody, and that's all
Yeah.
anybody kind of saw me as anyways. I mean, I've been everywhere, from, I mean, in the DFW, from like Mesquite to North Richland Hill, actually Azle,
Okay.
North Richland Hills, Fort Worth, all of that, because I would get kicked out of hotels all the time. And
Yeah.
so sometimes two times over, and so, like, where else do you have to go?
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of your experiences, good or bad, with law enforcement? And what about the county courts?
So I want to start with the good because they are few and far between. With my first trafficker, was 17 and 18 when I was with him, and he had the same birthday as me. Thought it was meant to be. Had never met anybody with the same birthday, and he was extremely abusive. I mean, I was black
Mm.
and blue from head to toe all the time, and I remember just thinking, like, man, I will be the one to make a difference with him. I'll change him. And, like, knowing how delusional that is now, it makes me feel sorry for that girl who thought that. And I was having I was pregnant and was having an ectopic pregnancy, and our experience in the ER was insane. We go because I had started having a lot of like abdominal pain, and they did like the triage or whatever, had done an ultrasound on me, and he started yelling at me in the ER, like started like being really like messed up to me, calling me names, and we were kicked out by security for disrupting, causing a disruption, and later called back because they saw that it was an ectopic. Go ahead. I see you want to say something.
Yeah. Well, no, that was just kind of the thing, and it could kill you.
Exactly. But also, like, I look back now with the mindset that I have now, and I'm like, yeah, we were a disruption. He was yelling at me. Like, nobody thought to ask, even if it was domestic violence, because a lot of time it mirrors it, right? And so, even if it was,
Mhm.
why would you not help me? Why would you send me home with my abuser, my trafficker, the person who's
Yeah.
like being so derogatory towards me? Like, why would you do that to me? And I was I think I was 17 at the time. I was 17 or 18, but I was really young. And they knew that,
Mm.
they had my birthday, they had everything. And so they call my mom, who was my emergency contact. She comes and picks us up because we didn't have a car. We had caught a taxi there on the way there.
Mhm.
Uh, and so she takes me back. They tell me, hey, like if you start having a worsening pain or you start bleeding, like you need to come back. And maybe it was about like 3 or 4 days later, I had started bleeding and I was in like severe pain. And I didn't have a phone. And I told him, like, hey, this is what the hospital said. You remember, like, I'm bleeding. And he was like, well, I have two calls for you set up for today. So you're going to do those. And then we'll go to the ER. So the first one was in Grand Prairie, and the second one was in Plano. I saw the guy from Grand Prairie. We go to the guy in Plano, and I when I went in there, I didn't care anymore. I was like, hey, like I'm in a lot of pain. Like I have to get the money from you, or else I'm gonna be in trouble. Like, please
Yeah.
don't like freak out on me. Like I don't even know what else to do. Like I didn't know what else to do at that point. I was like, I'm gonna be honest because I can't like go through with this.
Mhm.
And so he offers to like shoot my trafficker, and I'm like, I'm good. Uh, and so I had to use his phone to call my trafficker, and he showed up like 10 minutes after, I called him, even though he's supposed to be down the street. And we get on like the highway, like the loop de loop, and we get pulled over. And mind you, up until this point, I mean, I had gone to juvenile. I had been in TYC, which is essentially prison for kids, and so my experiences with law enforcement had not really ever been pleasant. Like they'd always been like me, very defensive and really not caring what they had to say, and like whatever. And so when we get pulled
Yeah.
over, the officer that pulls us over, I get out and immediately like start talking. And the officer that pulled us over was like, hey, before you do that, come with me. He takes me to the back of his police, cruiser, and
Yep.
the guy, my trafficker, to the front of the car we were in. And he was like, hey, like while you were over there seeing that trick or whatever you were doing, and I kind of like wanted to object. And he was like, no, he was like, you're not in trouble for any of that, but I want to tell you something. He was at the park trying to holler at a 15-year-old girl, and her mom called us because she was so scared. And I think that was
Mm.
kind of like a realization, like 14 years old, because I was, 17, 18 at the time. And I was like, wow, that's like really young. I mean, I didn't say that, but like it's kind of like all starting to set in. And I was like, "Hey, listen, you're right. Like I'm having an ectopic pregnancy. Like he told me this would be the last thing I had to do, and he would take me to the hospital. I really need to go to the hospital. Like I'm really scared." And he was like, Oh man, I don't know if he knew what it was, or I don't know, but he immediately put me in his car and drove me to the hospital himself. He sat with me the entire time, and the entire time he was just so uplifting and encouraging and talking about my trafficker as he should. And I just never had that positive experience like that. Like I really wish I knew his name, or had gotten
Yeah.
his information, because I that will always be like in the back of my mind, is the way he treated me and the compassion he showed me, and not waiting for an ambulance. Like, he wanted to see it through. And then after everything was said and done, he let me go. He was kind of like, my shift's over anyways. You're still gonna have a warrant out for your arrest, but like, I want you to be okay. I don't, he didn't want to take me to jail.
Yeah.
And so I think that sticks out as like the positive interaction that I've had with law enforcement since then, since being a good girl and getting, I man, the the Denton County Team Human Trafficking Task Force, or I think that's what they're called,
Mhm.
Denton County Sheriff's Office. They're a wonderful group of men, and I have had nothing but positive interactions with them. I've never met such big, like, burly men who are so trauma informed and like gentle and kind. Because used to, when I heard, I mean, I'm not gonna say like I see the police and I'm like, but I'm aware of them. If I see a
Yeah.
it's second nature, and I don't know that that will ever go away.
Yeah.
But negative interactions with police officers, I feel like there's been so many, but and it was partly my fault for anything from faking seizures to, there was a lot of faking of seizures trying to get out of jail. But just like the lack of compassion, and I knew that. And I knew, because of my track marks, or because I was in lingerie, because they knew, what was going on. Like, there was never any like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, is anything going on with you?" Like, there was never any of that. And there was just a sense of like, I don't know, defense. Like, I had to be on defense with police because I never knew like what their angle was.
Yeah. Yeah. No, understood. Did you ever catch any formal charges? Like, what were the courts like for you?
When During being trafficked, there were so many charges. I
Yeah.
need,
Did you ever have to go to court?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which time? No, I have my records long as Loop 12. I mean, I have drug charges. I have 3 or 4 prostitution charges. I mean, a lot of those I caught while being trafficked, which is so crazy to me because
Mm.
I see how they do things now. I feel like the spot, I'm really grateful for Taken and Sound of Freedom, Voice of Freedom, Sound of Freedom,
Sound of
because
freedom. Uh huh.
yeah, Sound of Freedom, because it has made trafficking like a hot topic, right? And I'm grateful for that because others don't won't have to go through that. It's really hard trying to, you know, explain to employers sometimes why you have 3 or 4 prostitution charges,
Yeah.
especially when you're like, I mean, hopefully I don't look like my charges anymore.
No.
But I think that is what makes it like even more. And almost feel like as soon as I get asked about them, or, you know, asked about my background, like, I'm always very honest about it, but it's really hard to like, if I'm not there yet with that person, to kind of tell them like why that's there, even though, LinkedIn is a thing. So I know they can go see, I work in the anti trafficking space. So,
Mhm.
I don't know, especially male employers, because you
Yeah.
don't know if, hey, were you a buyer? Because you look like you could have been one, or you know what I mean?
No, I do. And I venture to take it a step further and say, why is prostitution even a crime? I mean, is it not the exploitation of another? I mean, it, it shouldn't, it should, like, they should be asking questions, not
Yeah,
just
no, a
willing.
hundred percent. Or there should be, there should be programs, which I know that there are some, but like programs to where they don't take you to jail for
Mhm.
prostitution.
Yeah.
I will say that I went through a long court program that was focused on and specified for women who have sexual trauma. Uh, Specifically, like if you had a prostitution case on your record, they would put you in this program. And as much as I hated it, I hated it. I was so mad at everybody because I was like, how am I ever going to be? How am I going to do 2 years of probation? Because the other three times I
Yeah.
had gotten put on probation, I had always run. And I'm so grateful I went through it because it kept me sober long enough and accountable long enough to where my mind was able to heal. I was able to mature. I had been doing drugs so long to just not feel. And I'm so grateful that, you know, all the pain I got to finally feel because I should have felt that. Like, but I had numbed that for so long because I didn't know how
Right.
to deal with it. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm most grateful for that program is giving me a chance to be
Yeah.
sober long enough to like feel that.
No, that's incredible. What about justice? Have you pursued justice, or are you still pursuing justice against anyone that hurt you?
I was very angry for a long time. Not only, the 22-year-old who I met online when I was 12. I'm not going to say it's rainbows and unicorns when I think about that. Because I'll go on, down the rabbit hole. Every so often, I'll go Googling his name, hitting him up on, public data. I'll put his name in public data, and I'll go on this kind of rampage to be like where are you at now? Like I hope you don't have kids, like because
Yeah.
a pedophile can never. I don't care if you're redeemed or whatever, you like what you like. You can, I don't feel like a pedophile could ever truly be cured or healed because you like what you like. You might not act on your urges, but you're still nasty, you know what I mean? and
Yes.
and
Yes.
so I do. I go down that rabbit hole. I feel like a huge injustice was done to me. I don't, I don't use that as, a shield or anything like that, but I do have the right to feel that way. At 12 years old, I was taken to do a rape kit. I was extremely embarrassed that my mom was there. This was the
Yeah.
first my first sexual encounter, whether it was my
Mm.
choice or not. I felt like he loved me because why would somebody want to have sex with me and not love me?
Right.
There we go with that naive thing again, right? Because that's what
Mhm.
you connected to. And so
Mhm.
that instilled in me love equals sex. That
Yeah.
right there was love equals sex. And so I heard I was so disrespectful to my mom. I'm not even gonna lie. I was at her. I was telling her get away from me. I was humiliated. I didn't want her to see me. I didn't even want her looking at me. I was so embarrassed.
Mhm.
And the police officers told her that she could whip me if she wanted to. And so I think about that. I think about the fact that, I was down there doing a rape kit. He had just sexually
Yeah.
assaulted a minor. And so it was positive for his DNA. He was literally caught in the act. A police came up to the window while he was on top of me. And that's what I woke up to. The butt of his flashlight, like hitting the window and like red and blue lights. And I had never been so scared or like I was shocked. And
Mm.
so he was literally caught in the act. I don't know. I'm middle-aged mom, so I don't know if they did body cameras back then. And they recovered the
Mhm.
chats from AOL because I originally told them that I told him I was 18. They had the chats where I told him I was 12 years old. So, regardless of
Oh,
what I
wow.
said or how I acted, or I was 12 years old. You know what I mean? They had everything they needed for a slam dunk case, and he was still no billed. And I
Mhm.
testified. I was brought to court to testify again. It was because of the status of his parents. His parents had money. He was from a very upscale family. And that just instilled in me, like, shoot, you know, if you got money, you can get away with everything. And it's kind of been proven time and time again. And so I don't know. I feel like I don't know if Dallas County has a lot, way too much on their plate to like pursue justice, especially for, I mean, the victim. Like, what does that instill in them? You know?
Well, Dallas County is going to get its own episode here on Called Anyway, so
Love
we can
that.
dive into that. Yeah. Okay, so what is your advice for someone that is like in the life that is seeking freedom but doesn't know where or how to find it? And what was the tipping point for you to find a way out and get out?
So I feel like that's a little bit of a loaded question because sometimes when we do educate, people will ask like, so what did you need to hear? And I don't really know. Like I don't really know what would have been the right thing, or I think that whatever you say, let it come out organically. Like don't force something. Don't It's not a one size fits all. You know what I mean? Like survivors surviving, survive because of being able to be a people reader. That is your biggest survival skill. You have to know when somebody's upset, when they are being sneaky, when something feels shady. And so that doesn't go away because you
Yes.
get sober, you get out of the life. So if, Sally Sue comes in there and she's like, although I am a believer, I love Jesus Christ, but if you would have come at me with Jesus loves you, I hope you, choose something different one day, like I would have been like, okay, but what if I don't? I like Owen. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
don't come at me like that, but let whatever you have to say, let it come out organically. And God, to those who are still in the life like that don't know if things get better, like my life is not, I'm not I don't know that I'll ever feel like I'm where I want to be, I guess professionally or just like healing wise. I never feel like I am. I have hangups still. I have, self-doubt is really, really prominent. It's the first voice sometimes in the morning and the last voice I hear going to sleep sometimes. But, there are days when I don't ever hear that, you know what I mean? And I'm able to like shift my focus from, where I should be or, how I don't belong in the rooms that I walk into. I don't. Because I just feel like the first voices that you hear in your life that we always see. I feel like we always see negativity. It always overpowers positivity a lot of times for a lot of people, when it comes to yourself especially.
Yeah.
And so that first voice, in your early life, that first voice of doubt is that first voice. I mean, is the voice that you will continue to hear. That's the case for me.
Absolutely.
But I do believe that what what will break you will heal you. What
Mhm.
broke me it's definitely been a full circle moment in the sense of like I remember, times like being in a hotel room, shooting up heroin and just crying like, why do I do this? Like, why am I like this? Like, God, if you're real, why would you do this to me? If you love me, this is what I'm saying. I know God loves me. I know why he did it now. But I was so angry and I was bitter, and I feel like I remember one day I was dope sick and I was looking out the window of my hotel room and it was like raining and I saw this lady and her kid. I don't know why in my mind I felt like she was a soccer mom, but I was like, man, that's all I want. I want something normal. I want to have a baby. Like that's all I've ever wanted. And I feel like, that is where a lot of you know, my anxiety for sure, but my healing comes from is that I
Yeah.
was blessed with my daughter. I tried so hard to have a baby, a lot of times with the wrong
Mhm.
people. Uh, but my husband and I, we were blessed and we have a firecracker. But
I have
I
one of those too.
yeah, and I want to make it a point to like not snuff that fire out because that's really useful and to just she's with her, her tail on and her kitty cat ears and stickers all over her face. That's when she feels the most secure. And I'm like, okay, girl, I love that for you. And like, I don't ever want to be the person that snuffs that out, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I do know. I know exactly. So, the last question, I really want to talk to you about. So, what is your passion now? Is it advocacy? Is it education? And like, who do you mainly work with?
So I worked in behavioral health for a while and I love behavioral health, substance use primarily, and I love it. And I love getting to see people, get sober and love who they are, love their life. But, about 6 months ago, I was sitting down thinking about it like, what role would I be happy in? And all I could hear was, anti trafficking. Like that has always been, I feel like, where my heart's at once I learned that, I was trafficked. And once I got enough confidence to start speaking and uh, telling my story and realizing how empowering it is, and that I really don't care what anybody else has to say. Like it happened, and well, take it or leave it. So I work with primarily with Reclaim 611, and I really don't know what part I love the most. I love the times that I've gotten to do outreach. I love it. I thrive in chaos, I feel like. And so I love that, but I love getting to educate because it's mind baffling to me how many people just have no idea or like the genuinely like ignorance is bliss questions you get like I mean like there's no true like I don't know. I like being in person to where if there's a question that needs to be answered, I can answer it in a way that a naive person can understand. I
Yeah.
love the diversity involved in like, okay, healthcare, mental health, behavioral health, substance use. And since I've worked in like both of those, it's been crazy the overlap. I know it was an overlap for me and a lot of women on our team, but like to just see that in real time, like
Mhm.
working at the detox I worked at, is really sad to me, but also like, hey, like, is anybody else seeing this?
Mm.
And so I think that there needs to be like awareness and that crossover. And it's also kind of cool getting to be, I don't know, like an advocate in that space.
Yeah.
So I met Carrie from Reclaim. That is how I found out what trafficking was. And then it wasn't an Asian girl in a basement
Yeah.
chained up in Asia somewhere. She was in one of my ectopic pregnancies. She was ER doctor at Baylor, and she was over. I mean, she was. my doctor. She treated me, and I guess it was all of the red flags and the fact that I was like super honest and
Yeah.
didn't care. She was so compassionate. She asked me questions. She was actually looking at me and not my chart and asking follow-up questions. She prayed with me, she cried with me, and I was like, oh my God, she's not scared to give me a hug. And so it was like a different level. And I was very newly sober, and I was really, really sad that I was having another, failed pregnancy, and just a level of compassion. And I needed a hug. Like, I really needed a
Yeah.
hug. And she gave me her card, and really she educated me, but like I feel like that was the catalyst to like that healing,
Yeah.
and um
She's incredible.
yeah,
And don't forget Sparkles.
she is definitely incredible. You know what, I feel like I learn a lot from Jacqueline, in the sense of, you know it used to piss me off when people would ask dumb questions. Not saying she asked dumb questions, but she has shown me, like, I've never felt judged with her. Like, I've never felt like she asked some crazy questions that I'm like, girl, for real? But she really doesn't know. And you know that from
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
And that,
She
she's
means
not,
well.
it's not even that she means well. She wants to know so she can better, like, be better, or
Absolutely.
help people more. And I don't know. There's like a love for her and a place in my heart for her, like that will, I mean, it'll always be there, because she has shown me a part of like just people, like when you do grow up in like a good household and like you do have that love, you're sheltered from that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And that's what it was for her. Like, she was very loved, and they kept her away from shit like that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I love that for her, because I know she was loved. Like, I know she, her parents really like raised her right and cared about her, and she was in the church while we were out here, doing our thing.
Living life. No, so for those that don't know, Jacqueline is my best friend. We call her Sparkles, aka, come on, Whitney, what do y'all call her? Mama Sparkles.
Oh, okay. I didn't know where we were going with that because you said sparkles.
Well, yeah, Sparkles, Mama Sparkles, my bestie Jacqueline. So yes, Ashlyn, we work with Reclaim as well. We love Carrie, we love Jacqueline, we love all of them. I mean, they're
They love
amazing.
me. They love me.
And Whitney, yes, we love Whitney. And Whitney, thank you so much for coming on today and just sharing your perspective. I mean, it is not lost on me all of the craziness that you've endured, but if there's anything that I think God loves to do is bring beauty from ashes.
Hey.
And he has a habit of it over and over and over, and I keep wanting to just imprint on your brain, he redeems all that he allows. And so just because something bad happened doesn't mean that he caused it. And that took me a long time to learn that. But not that he, said, "Oh, I want this to happen." It's, "Oh, so this happened. Let me see what I can make good out of it." And you know what? He hasn't failed yet.
So, I remember I was telling you the other day, those why moments when you're like,
Mhm.
why would you allow that? If you were real, why would you do that to me? Like, I hate you. In the moment, you're like, you're screaming it. And I mean, every part of your being is like, why would you do that to me? Why would you let them do that to me?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's in this, I'm so blessed in that sense. I've gotten those answers. Like, I'm grateful that I went through what I went through, because I wouldn't be who I am. And he does. He redeems. He Everything that you went through. I mean, it's so all these super cliche sayings, they're true. Like, everything happens for a
Yeah.
reason. It's really kind of condescending in the moment, but like, after you figure out the reason, you're like, it does happen for a reason. And I don't know, I find peace in like knowing that Jesus was there, like in those moments, and actually taking a minute to be with him and asking him, where were you? And knowing that he was crying with me, and he does. Like, who better to work with survivors and, be out there educating than a survivor who's been through it, but also has gotten a little classier.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, listen, you have been an absolute gem, and you will be on again because that's just how we roll. But no,
Okay.
thank you so, so much.
Thank you for
So
having me.
thank
I
you to Whitney.
appreciate you.
Of course, of course. So thank you to Whitney and thank you to everybody tuning in again. We will have another episode next week. Just, Whitney, I can't thank you enough for being in this space and for being an advocate for those that don't feel like they have a voice and don't feel much less that their voice matters. And you are here to say, you know, this bad thing happened. I have been a product of my own choices, but you know, I've been redeemed and you've been set free. So this is just such an exciting
Absolutely.
day. Yeah, and it's all the reason in the world to celebrate. So thank you so much and thank you to everyone else and we will see you next week.
Bye.